Hi, everyone. It's Jillian with I'll Eat Your History, where I watch a historic food recreation video, I react to it, and then I try to make it. And then I put it in my mouth and tell you what I think about it. So today we are going to be doing Tasting Histories, Plague the Four Humors. Apple Muse is the food. Apparently, it was a cure for the plague. This is what I know from watching the notes, from reading the notes. And keep in mind, so this was 4 years ago, so 5 years ago now. Oh my goodness, time is passing. This was 5 years ago during COVID. So Max got started with his channel and COVID hit. And so I've noticed that there's a few videos about the plague. So it was timely. Well, right now there's no plague happening. Well, there's the bird flu, and eggs are like $20 a carton practically. They're like liquid gold. But other than that, we've got no plague stories happening. So looking forward to diving into this episode, hanging out with Max, seeing what we're going to cooking up. I'm here for it. I hope you are too.
Tasting History. I'm your host, Max Miller, and frankly,
Hi,
it's
Max.
a little weird out there right now.
Yes.
We are experiencing what is called social distancing, so locked up in here for a while. Stocked up on food, stocked up on toilet paper,
I'm
stocked
so
up on baking
sorry,
supplies,
Max.
so that's good. With everything that's going on, I was kind of put in mind of the Black Death. A 5-year period.
You can tell his energy is sad. I remember very clearly when we went into lockdown. So, oh, Max, I'm sorry. Little past Max. I know present Max is fine, but past Max, I'm sorry. And here's another story. Here's another little picture story. Well, it's the plague. I mean, it is what you think it is. There's just chaos happening.
The mid-14th century, where 25 to 40% of the population of Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa was wiped out.
He sounds so sad in his voice.
Social distancing actually worked at that time period, but most people didn't do it because they didn't know how disease was spread. Germ theory was like 600 years away.
Yes.
But they did have cures available. Not cures that worked, but cures that they thought worked. So today we're going to make one of those supposed cures.
And by the way, Max, because you're in March of 2020, maybe April, there were some cures for that plague that you're about to go through that were a little odd too. Drinking some bleach. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, so this is interesting. What we're going to cook today apparently is supposed to be some cure for the plague. I just want to give Max a hug. I want to go back to the Lent dessert where he ate the dessert and it was like a warm hug. I want to give him more of that dessert. I didn't particularly like it when I made it, but he really did, and I want to wrap him up in that porridge because it just seems really sad. Oh, Max. And that cat, if you hear my cat, that's what's happening. He's having some feelings about it too. Okay, Max. Okay, little Max. Hang in there. Hang in there, Max.
Apple mousse. Doesn't actually cure anything.
No.
But it tastes mighty fine. I'll also look at the system that guided people to think that apple mousse or applesauce and other foods could actually cure the plague. So before I depress you with the death of a third of medieval Europe, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, tap the notification bell, and hunker down for Tasting History.
Oh, hunker down for some time to come. This is not going to be over by May, Max. I hate to tell you.
To our great grief, the plague carried off such a vast multitude of people that nobody could be found who would bear the corpses to the grave. Men and women carried their own children on their shoulders to the church and threw them into a common pit. From these pits, such an appalling stench was given off that scarcely anyone dared even to walk beside the cemeteries.
This is heavy.
In this atmosphere, I suppose you'd be willing to try pretty much anything that might cure the plague.
Yeah.
Even if it was just an apple.
Yeah.
And that's what some people thought would work.
An apple a day.
So today we're going to make apple mousse. Similar to an applesauce, but a little bit different. Now there are lots of medieval apple mousse recipes, some that include suet and beef broth, others cod liver. But with toilet paper being rationed as it is, I've opted for a 15th century English recipe that includes almond milk and honey.
Thank you.
For this apple mousse,
Thank
you'll
you,
need
Max.
2 apples, 1
Check.
cup of unsweetened almond milk.
Gonna make
now,
that.
if you want to make your own almond milk, I'll leave a link in the description to where I walk you through the steps. Just leave out the sugar, because that's a sweetened version, and you don't want sweetened
Good
for
to know.
this. It's
Okay.
going to be sweet enough.
Thank you for
2 to
that.
4 tablespoons of honey, depending on
Check.
how sweet you want it. 1 cup or 2 slices of grated bread. Now that's basically toasted bread that has been crumbled up as fine as you can. Don't use regular commercial breadcrumbs though. It makes it real goopy and frankly it's not, period. 1 teaspoon of sandalwood powder. I also have a link in the description to where you can buy some of that because it's not so easy to find.
Yeah, I did have to get that. Oh, and then the saffron was ridiculously expensive. And luckily, I think he uses it into some future episodes. I mean, I only got a little bit, but it's like $200 an ounce or something insane.
A pinch of saffron and a pinch of salt. Now I've listed all of the ingredients along with the recipes, both medieval and modern, in the description down below, and the links that I mentioned before. First, fill a small saucepan about halfway full with water and set it to boiling.
While that
heats,
things.
peel your apples.
I can peel apples.
Core your apples.
I can core apples.
Slice your apples.
I can slice apples.
And hit that like button.
I can do
then
that
put the apples
too.
into the boiling water and let them simmer for about 10 minutes or until they soften.
I can do that.
Once you can stab them with a knife with no resistance, remove the pot from the heat and drain the water. Now at this point, you have to mash the apples. They don't mash terribly easily, so go ahead and use a blender, or if you have a lot of time because of social distancing, you can just use a mortar and pestle like I did.
No. What?
But it takes a lot.
He used a mortar and pestle to do this? What a commitment. Max, you were committed. Good for you. Good for you for mortar and pestling it up. I won't be doing that. I will not be doing that. I am going to Vitamix the heck out of it.
Next, put the mashed apples back into the saucepan and add in your almond milk, your honey, the grated bread or breadcrumbs, the sandalwood, the saffron, and the salt. Then put the heat to medium and simmer for about 7 minutes while it thickens. Now while the sweet aroma of apple fills my house, let's take a look at how the apple could have ever been thought to cure the bubonic plague.
Let's find out. Time for history. I'm excited. This is my favorite
Let me start
part.
with a joke. Only 1300s kids will get this.
Oh, good.
The bubonic plague. No? Too soon. Well, if you don't like that kind of humor, how about these humors? Blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. Yes, these 4 bodily fluids, the humors, were thought to control everything about your body in the Middle Ages. It was a theory based on the writings of Hippocrates and Galen and corresponded with the 4 elements. Earth.
I'm excited about this because I've heard about this before, the 4 humors, but I haven't ever learned that much about them. And I know I referenced it in the last episode where I talked about the kid who was really phlegmy. I thought, well, maybe this is the kind of, I was hoping it wasn't that he was like phlegmy. I was hoping that it just meant he was talking about the 4 humors. Okay, so this is cutting edge medicine. The 4 humors in the Middle Ages. Take it away, Max. We got blood, we got black bile. What else?
And fire and water if he had ever learned to sing. It was the dominant theory in the Middle Ages and wasn't even challenged until 1543 and wasn't definitively defeated until 1858.
Yeah,
1858!
Wow.
So what exactly did these humors have to do with the plague? Well, if you were sick with the plague or anything at all, it was thought to be due to an imbalance in your humors. And frankly, everything could throw these things out of whack. The weather, the seasons, the alignment of the planets and the stars. So with all of these forces tugging at your humors, how did medieval doctors know which one was out of balance?
They didn't.
Well, one way would be your mood. If you had too much blood, you'd be sanguine. So it would be time for a bloodletting. A few leeches will temper that incurable optimism, you little scamp. Too much flesh.
You little scamp. But I will say that they have found that actually bloodletting is good for you, or it can be good for you. That's why it's good to donate blood. It gets things out of your body. I don't know any more than that. That's what I have to say. Okay, let's get back to the leeches. Let's get back to this face. Let's get back to this. What's happening with this face? Let's go for it, Max.
And you're going to be phlegmatic, unemotionally calm. An excess of black bile would make you melancholic.
He's really acting it up.
And too much yellow bile would make you choleric. So if you were feeling just a little bit irritable, it wasn't because you were going to...
What is happening here? Well, it was the Black Plague. I mean, it's predictable, but these faces, I feel like whoever drew this needs to go back to art school. This is not, this is not, these are not good features. Oh well, I mean, you probably were the artist here because you were the one who survived the plague. So low bar for artistry at this time period.
In a few days and were in extreme pain the entire time. No, it was because you had too much yellow bile. So what does all this have to do with apples?
Yeah.
Well, one way to get your humors back in line was through food. And food fell into 4 categories: hot, cold, wet, and dry. But from there, it got really, really complicated.
So it's interesting because this is also similar to, well, not similar, but has similar concepts to Ayurveda, which is the Indian medical system, traditional medical system about things being hot or dry or whatnot. So it's kind of fascinating that this concept was in multiple parts of the world at the same time.
Because all of the foods were on a degree system, going from first to fourth.
Okay.
First being the weakest, fourth being the strongest.
Complicated.
Case
That's
in
too
point,
complicated.
Cinnamon was hot in the 2nd degree and dry in the 1st
That's
degree.
too complicated.
Now, if you had a headache or maybe just a bad day, great, take some cinnamon. But this
Okay.
is the plague, people. We need some 4th degree foods.
Yes.
Mustard. Mustard was hot in the
Mustard.
4th degree and dry in
Get
the 4th
the
degree.
fourth
Who needs
degree
antibiotics
mustard?
when you've got mustard? But with the
Exactly.
Black Plague, you usually had a temperature and a lack of thirst. Sounds like it's time for some cold, wet food. And I'm not talking Friskies.
Ooh.
I'm talking apples. Now, to be
Apples.
fair, apples are wet in the 3rd degree and cold in the 2nd.
That's too
not
many
the
degrees.
strongest.
I'm not here
But
for the degrees.
if you want wet in the 4th degree, you have to take mercury.
No.
And I'm not going to do that.
That's
for
not
cold in
good
the
for
4th
you.
degree, you need opium. And while that sure would be nice if you had the plague, the government's always
Yeah.
looking over my shoulder, so I'm sticking to apples. Now, once your apple mousse has
No
simmered
opium
and
for
thickened,
you.
remove it from the heat and dish it
He's
up.
got his,
So let's give it a
he's got
taste.
his wooden bowl out again with this little wooden spoon.
That's really nice. Very honey-y.
Likes it. Honey.
Not so much apple-y. Now,
Not
not all
apple-y.
cures for the plague were this delicious. In fact, some of them were
Okay.
downright disgusting or just weird. So next time,
Like
we'll delve
bleach?
into some of the more interesting treatments for the Black Death. But don't worry, we will make something delicious. Candied horseradish, which was a hot and dry food.
That's coming up
And
next.
while that may sound a little weird, I promise you, it's nothing in comparison with the alternatives we'll discuss. So make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, tap the notification bell, and join me next time on Tasting History.
Well, that was a relatively quick one, actually. And I think this one will be a little relatively quick one because it's a simple dessert or a simple meal. It's a simple cure. So let's go to the kitchen. Let's try to cook this up. Let's see if I screw this up. I don't think I will. This looks really simple. But let's see if it cures me of my phlegm or cholera or whatever it is that I have going on. See if it balances me out. All right. Okay, so now we are going to make what I'm going to call the plague sauce. It's applesauce, it's apple Muse. It's now called plague sauce. Okay, I've got my ingredients ready, and I have to tell you, I did not get this filmed, but the bread crumbs, you think that would be easy. Now, he said in the video, do not use commercial breadcrumbs, make it yourself. Get some toast. So I got some toast. I made some toast. I made it in the oven because I got rid of my toaster because I get rid of things all the time. I got rid of my toaster, learned how to make it in the oven. Toast was great. No problem on the toast. And then it was like, and then grate it. So I got out my grater and I started grating it. And it just went all over the place. And some of it is really fine little grains, and some of them are chunks. And so that's what we're going to get. We're going to have some kind of chunky apple plague sauce. That's what we're going to have today. As a reminder, subscribe if you want to watch more of this stuff, if you want to see what else I get up to, right? Okay, so first we are going to peel. Think you're going to be doing this. I'm going to be peeling, slicing, and coring the apples. It said to use 2, but my little apples are small little babies. So I decided I'm just going to use 3. I'm going to peel them, I'm going to core them, I'm going to slice them. Yeah, I don't know why I'm a little challenged when it comes to peeling, but you know what? It gets peeled. And I'm not in the military. The apples are peeled. Now we core. Okay, coring it. You know what? I'm not going to do it this way. This seems dangerous. I think because I'm just going to slice them up, I don't need to make little lovely holes in the middle of it. I am just going to slice it and slice out the parts that we should not eat. That way I won't have to worry about hurting myself. Max, I'm making an adjustment. I'm making an adjustment to your recipe. I hope you don't mind, but I can just see myself cutting myself. This is a medical episode. There we go. It was hard enough just to get that off of there, but we don't need this to be a bloody episode. Phlegm is enough. Because you got, look how rosy my little cheeks are. This little apple slicing is getting me sauced up, I guess. I don't know why my little cheeks are so rosy. All right, I'm going to get the water going. We have an issue. It says, fill small pot half full of water. And then we're going to be adding the apples to it. And then we're going to, maybe we're straining it, or maybe we're just blending it in the blender, which means the amount of water is going to matter. Is this a small pot? Or is this a small pot? I'm looking at my apples. I'm going to go with this one because I just feel like this one's going to be too small. I don't. I really thought this was going to be an easy recipe. I really was like, oh, this is no problem. This is easy. This will be done in a minute. Done in a minute, but already we had the bread grating fiasco. Now we've got the which size pot do I use fiasco and how much water goes in there. Is this going to be really liquidy? We're going to find out. Okay, Max. Okay. I'm playing your game. I'm playing your game. And I've known I'm not boiling it on medium heat. I'm boiling it on high because when you boil water, that's the proper heat to boil it at because it boils. I'm still wounded from the butterbeer episode. I think I have gotten over the medieval cheesecake episode. That was a trauma. These things stay with me. Maybe this plague cure will cure my humors. This little plague sauce. This little plague sauce. Okay, apples are cut up. Now, while we're waiting for the water to boil, let's talk about these weird ingredients. Okay, grated bread, grated toast, okay. Honey, apples, not so weird, that's fine. Salt, apple, almond milk, fine. But we have sandalwood. Sandalwood? Have you ever heard of that? There it is. This is it. Max didn't really talk about it too much in the episode, this weird powder. And I thought I should talk about this because what the heck is this? I had to order it on Amazon. This is not something you get at your local grocery store. Okay. It doesn't smell like anything. It did when I pulled it out of the bag, but now I'm going to taste it. It doesn't taste like anything other than like maybe wood. It doesn't even taste like wood. It tastes like nothing. Why are we putting this? Why did we buy this? Don't buy this. If you're going to make this, don't bother. Do not bother with this. Maybe when it cooks, something magical happens. Maybe like its bouquet opens up. But it seems like a lot of huzzah or hurrah for nothing. And then the other one is saffron. Now, saffron definitely does have a flavor and a smell, but it makes me think of like, it doesn't smell like fish, but for some reason I think of fish. Anyway, I'm going to put a pinch of this in there. I don't know why I associate with fish. That sandalwood powder, that is getting to me. But the water is boiling. Okay, it is boiling. Now we are putting the apples in. He did say simmer and not boil, so I'm turning it down. He did say to drain it, so all of my kerfuffle over like the amount of water was Just unnecessary drama. I'm waiting. I'm going to send a little message to Max from the past. Max, hang in there. You've got so many delightful recipes ahead of you. You have so much to look forward to. Just because you're trapped. Oh, and I also know he had to be trapped separately from his husband because his husband was working and Max was furloughed. So he was really lonely on little Max. You just had your applesauce to keep you company. No wonder you got so excited about the Lent dessert and that it was like a warm hug because you needed a warm hug. I'm stabbing it, but I don't know how soft it's supposed to be. Is it supposed to be like mushy? Is it supposed to just like be slicey? I'm gonna just go with my gut because that always works out well for me. I'm gonna go with my gut. I'm just gonna go with when I feel done. That's how I roll. I've stabbed it and I enjoyed that. Playing a little Bob the apple pieces, stab the apple pieces, but I think I'm gonna be done. I'm moving forward. I am going to drain this and pop it in the blender and blend it up. And then we'll move on to the next step. Because then we simmer it all together. We pull it all together and mush it up and make plague sauce. Okay, it is blended. That was delightfully easy. Now I'm just gonna throw it in the pot. Throw it in the pot and get our plague on. Almond milk that I made myself using Max's recipe because then I didn't have to soak it overnight, a lot quicker. The breadcrumbs, pinch of salt, the weird ass sandalroot powder. Don't know what the point of this is. Again, I used my dad's honey. Thanks, Papa. It's a lot of honey. I can see why it tastes like honey. And the pinch of saffron. It's making gurgling noises. It's not happy with me. Calm down. It is blood colored. This looks like vomit with blood in it. Like somebody has an ulcer and they threw up. This looks vile. I don't know why we didn't put cinnamon in it. Oh, because it was like the cinnamon was like heat of the 4th degree or 2nd degree, or all of those degrees were too much for me. I don't think this is going to get any better the more I stir it. I think we're just going to call this one done. That is what it looks like. Do you want to put this in your mouth? No, you do not. No, you do not. All right, well, we'll find out. Well, we don't need to get carried away. That's probably plenty. What does it smell like? It smells like wine. Why does it smell like wine? There's no wine in this. It's interesting. It has other smells to it. Now the wine is going away. Maybe I just want wine. No, I think it's the sandalwood. It's that it makes me think of wood that is like oaky. I think it's that woodsy kind of smell. It is undescribable. Doesn't smell bad, but it smells wooden. It smells like I'm about to put wood in my mouth. Bloody wood vomit. That's what we're going to call this dish. Bloody wood vomit. Plague sauce. Okay. It's interesting. It's not bad. Sandalwood, no. Pass. Hard pass on the sandalwood. It gives you like this grainy texture. I mean, not that it's horrible. It's not horrible. Max, don't feel bad. I don't mean to offend you. I love you, Max. I just think the sandalwood was not a great add to this experience. It's warm. It's warming. If I was dying of the plague, I'd put it in my mouth. If I was dying of the plague, I would put this in my mouth. I don't know if it cured COVID. It's okay. All right, that's my take on Apple Muse. That's the official name. But now renamed plague sauce. Doesn't plague sauce sound like a better name for that? Yeah. Next time we're going to do another plague cure. We're going to do candied horseradish. Can't wait to give that to my father who loves horseradish and honey. We're going to be using both of those things. We'll see how that goes. We'll see if that's something that I want to put in my mouth. Probably not. It's horseradish, sugary horseradish. Yeah, so subscribe to stay in the loop and see what I get up to next. And go and check out Max's history, tasting Max's history. Go and check out Max's page. I will be linking it down below so that you can go and see what he's up to now. I'm just reviewing his episodes from like 5 years ago. He's gotten up to a whole lot of stuff since then. So go and check him out and support him. And I'll see you next time.